Raw, direct, uncomfortable, retention-focused. Stop scrolling. Not because this is important, but because you already know what I'm about to say. You've been pretending you don't. I am not here to motivate you. I am not here to calm you. I am not here to make you feel chosen. You've had enough of that. I'm here to say the thing no one on YouTube is saying to you. Your life is not stuck. You are. And before you get defensive, listen. You are not lazy. You are not unlucky. You are not blocked by the universe. You are avoiding one uncomfortable responsibility. That's it. Everything else is noise. You keep watching videos like this one, hoping for a feeling, a spark, a sign, a confirmation. But the truth is, if a feeling could change your life, it already would have. You don't need more inspiration. You need less escape. Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you felt clarity and then done nothing? How many times did you think, I should do this now, and then decided, I'll do it later? Later never came. Not because life stopped you, because you protected your comfort. Here's the part that hurts but frees you. You don't delay because you're unsure. You delay because once you act, you lose the right to complain. Right now you can say, I could have done more. I just need time. I'm still figuring things out. Action kills those excuses, and part of you is not ready to lose them. That's why your energy feels heavy. Not negative, not cursed, heavy. Because you're carrying undecided weight. Decisions you didn't make don't disappear. They sit on your nervous system. They turn into anxiety, restlessness, overthinking. Not because you're weak, because your mind is tired of waiting for you to lead. Let me say this clearly. Most people are not afraid of failure. They're afraid of consistency after success. Because failure ends quickly. Success demands maintenance. It demands discipline, boundaries, standards. And that means your old habits can't come with you. That's why you keep distracting yourself, scrolling, watching, planning, learning. It looks productive. It feels safe. But it's avoidance wearing intelligence. You tell yourself, I'm preparing. No. Preparation ends when clarity arrives. You crossed that line a long time ago. Now you're rehearsing to delay. Here's something no motivational speaker will tell you. The longer you wait, the harder action feels. Not because the task gets bigger, because your self-trust gets weaker. Every time you don't act on clarity, your brain learns this person doesn't follow through. And slowly, you stop believing yourself. That's where confidence really dies. You don't need discipline yet. You need one clean decision. Not 10, not a life plan. One. The one you keep avoiding. Let me tell you what will happen when you finally move. Not magically, not dramatically, quietly. Your mind will calm down. Your sleep will improve. Your respect for yourself will return. Not because life became easier, because you stopped betraying yourself. This part ends with something you need to hear. Read it slowly. You are not tired because you do too much. You are tired because you do too little of what matters. Let me be very clear with you now. What's stopping you is not lack of ability. It's not lack of intelligence. It's not even lack of discipline. It's something far more dangerous. You are too familiar with your own limits. You've lived inside the same patterns for so long that they feel like your personality. But they are not who you are. They are just what you got used to. This is why change feels uncomfortable to you. Not because it's wrong, but because it threatens your identity. Your mind prefers a painful certainty over an unfamiliar improvement. That's why you keep returning to the same habits, the same routines, the same thinking. Not because they work, but because they are known, and familiarity feels like safety, even when it's slowly destroying you. You keep asking, why can't I stay consistent? Here is the truth you avoid. Consistency is not a motivation problem, it's an environment problem. You are trying to build a new future inside a space designed for your old self. That never works. Your surroundings are training you every day. They train your standards, they train your expectations, they train what you tolerate. And whatever you tolerate repeatedly becomes normal. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Right now, your standards are too low for who you are becoming, and deep down, you know it. That's why you feel irritated by things that never bothered you before. That's why conversations feel draining. That's why noise feels heavy. That's why small talk feels pointless. This is not arrogance. This is expansion. But expansion always comes with pressure, and most people escape pressure by shrinking themselves again. They distract themselves, they numb themselves, they tell themselves lies like, "I'll do it later," or "now is not the right time." Time is not the issue. Honesty is. You know what needs to change. You've known for a while. You just don't want to admit that changing will cost you comfort. It will cost you people. It will cost you familiarity. It will cost you excuses. So you hesitate. And hesitation slowly turns into self-doubt. Not because you are incapable, but because you are divided. Part of you wants growth, part of you wants safety, and you cannot move forward while dragging both. This is why your energy feels scattered. You start things and stop. You plan but don't execute. You feel urgency, then lose it. That's not laziness, that's internal conflict. And conflict always drains energy. Here is something you must understand. Clarity does not come from thinking more. Clarity comes from deciding who you are willing to disappoint. Because every real decision disappoints someone. Either you disappoint others by changing, or you disappoint yourself by staying the same. There is no third option. You keep hoping for a version of growth that doesn't require sacrifice. That version does not exist. Every upgrade costs something. And right now, the cost is familiarity. That's why your mind fights back every time you think about moving. It floods you with doubt. It gives you reasonable fears. It shows you the worst-case scenarios. Not because those scenarios are likely, but because fear is the last defense of an identity that knows it's about to die. And identities do not die quietly. They resist, they bargain, they delay. They whisper things like, "Be patient, don't rush, wait for the right sign." But patience without movement is just fear with better language. Here's the line you need to hear. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you will stay exactly where you are. Read that again. Growth does not wait for emotional comfort. It responds to commitment. And commitment is not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet, uncomfortable, and decisive. It's doing the thing even when no one is watching, even when no one is clapping, even when your mind is still unsure. This is where most people fail. Not because they can't do it, but because they want certainty first. Certainty comes after movement, never before. And that is the trap you've been stuck in. You need to hear this clearly now. Because the problem is no longer confusion. The problem is avoidance. You already know what needs to change. You already feel what needs to end. You already sense the direction you should move in. But instead of moving, you keep revisiting the same thoughts, hoping they will change their answer. They won't. Overthinking is not intelligence. It is fear asking for more time. And fear always asks politely. It sounds reasonable. It sounds mature. It sounds like patience, but it is still fear. You are not stuck because you lack clarity. You are stuck because clarity demands a version of you that you haven't fully accepted yet. That version requires discipline without excitement, consistency without praise, movement without permission, and that is uncomfortable. This is why your mind keeps creating distractions, not dramatic distractions, safe ones, planning, research, waiting, preparing. All of it feels productive. None of it changes direction, because preparation without execution is just another form of delay. Here is the truth most people avoid. Your mind is not your enemy, but it will protect comfort longer than it protects growth. That is why it keeps replaying old fears instead of allowing new responsibility. Responsibility is heavier than dreaming. Responsibility removes excuses. Responsibility exposes effort. And part of you still wants the option to step back. That option is what's keeping you stuck. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another sign. You don't need reassurance. You need commitment without an escape plan. This is why people with less talent move faster. They decide before they feel ready. They act before confidence arrives. They tolerate uncertainty without negotiating with it. You wait for certainty. They create it. Certainty does not come first. It follows movement. Always. Think about your past. Every time something finally worked, it worked after you acted, not after you felt calm. You already know this pattern. You just keep pretending this time is different. It isn't. What you are avoiding right now is not failure. It is visibility. If you move and it works, people will expect consistency. If you move and it works, you will no longer be able to hide behind potential. Potential feels safe. Execution feels exposed. That is the real fear. This is why hesitation feels logical to you. It protects identity. But identities built on hesitation eventually collapse under regret. Read this carefully. Waiting does not preserve safety. It delays growth and multiplies frustration. Nothing changes while you wait, except your tolerance for yourself. That quiet disappointment you feel, that's not pressure from outside. That's self-respect asking for alignment. You are not being rushed. You are being called forward. And the longer you ignore that call, the heavier it becomes, because it does not disappear. It accumulates. This part ends with a truth you must stop ignoring. The life you want requires a version of you that acts without guarantees. And that version does not arrive through thinking. It arrives through decision.
Raw, direct, uncomfortable, retention-focused. Stay here. Because this is the part where people either change or quietly return to the same life they keep complaining about. Up to now, you thought the hardest part was starting. It's not. The hardest part is not going back. Most people don't fail. They drift. They loosen standards slowly. They reallow things they already outgrew. They convince themselves one small exception doesn't matter. It always matters. Momentum doesn't disappear overnight. It leaks, one distraction at a time. One excuse at a time, one "I deserve a break" at a time, and soon the urgency you felt becomes a memory. Here's what no one tells you. Progress creates exposure. The more you move forward, the more visible your decisions become, and visibility creates pressure. Not pressure to fail, pressure to maintain. That's why your mind looks for relief. Relief sounds like rest, but most of the time, it's retreat. You tell yourself you're tired. You tell yourself you need balance. You tell yourself you'll restart tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes a pattern, and patterns become identity. This is why discipline now matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation asks, "How do I feel today?" Discipline asks, "What is required?" At this level, feelings are irrelevant. Structure is everything. Your mornings matter more than you think. The first hour of your day sets the ceiling for your focus. If you start reactive, your entire day becomes defensive. Your nights matter just as much. What you allow into your mind before sleep decides what follows you into tomorrow. Chaos in these hours creates instability everywhere else. Small compromises are dangerous now. They don't feel wrong, they feel reasonable. That's why they work. You don't lose authority by rebellion, you lose it by permission. What you allow once becomes easier to allow again, and repetition becomes character. Rest is also being misunderstood. Rest is not numbing. Rest is not distraction. If you come back dull, you didn't rest. You escaped. Escaping weakens clarity. Clarity is what you need now. Consistency will feel boring. That boredom is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're doing it right. Stability has no adrenaline. If you crave excitement, you will sabotage rhythm, and rhythm is what sustains power. Soon, life will feel quieter, less urgency, less intensity, less emotional swing. This is where people assume the work is done. It's not. This is where the real test begins. Do you keep your standards even when no one is watching? Do you stay aligned when nothing is pushing you? This part ends with a truth you need to accept. You don't fall back because you're weak. You fall back because you forget why you moved forward in the first place. And forgetting is optional.
Raw, direct, uncomfortable, retention-focused. Stay here, because if you leave now, you will do what you've always done. Walk away right before the point of change. This is not a motivational ending. This is a decision checkpoint. Up until now, you've been listening. Now you are being addressed. You already know what you need to do. That's not arrogance. That's awareness. The reason nothing dramatic happened after all your effort is because drama is no longer required. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are waiting for permission, and that permission is not coming. No voice will shout it. No sign will flash it. No person will hand it to you. Because at this level, permission is assumed. This is the part people misunderstand. They think transformation feels powerful. It doesn't. It feels quiet. It feels serious. It feels final. You stop talking about what you're going to do. You stop asking people what they think. You stop negotiating with doubt. Not because doubt disappears, but because doubt loses authority. You don't become fearless. You become uninterested in fear's opinion. And that is the shift. Look at your life honestly, not emotionally, not defensively, honestly. You already know what habits are draining you. You already know which conversations weaken you. You already know what you keep tolerating that costs you clarity. You don't need more insight. You need standards. Standards are not rules you announce. They are behaviors you stop explaining. From this point forward, one principle must guide you. If something requires you to justify it later, it is not aligned now. Aligned actions feel clean. Not easy, not exciting. Clean. They don't create mental residue. They don't require recovery. They don't demand reassurance. They just stand. This is where most people fail. Not because they can't move forward, but because they refuse to let go of the version of themselves that was built to survive. Survival taught you to adapt, to people please, to delay, to stay flexible. But growth requires something else. Growth requires commitment without backup plans. You cannot move forward while secretly preparing to retreat. You cannot step into responsibility while keeping one foot in comfort. That split is why you feel tired, not because you're doing too much, but because you're divided. So here is the final truth. You are not broken. You are not blocked. You are not unlucky. You are standing at the exact point where excuses stop working. From here, life will respond differently. Not immediately, not emotionally, but structurally. Things will either align or fall away, and both outcomes are correct. You don't chase what leaves, you don't cling to what resists, you move forward clean, quietly, decisively. This is not the start of something new, this is the end of delay. After this, do not rewatch, do not overthink, do not look for another message. Take one real action within the next 24 hours that aligns with what you already know. No announcement, no explanation, just execution. This is where waiting ends. Stand firm, move clean, do not return to what you've outgrown.